Starting with looking at your position versus another's position. Then switch spaces and look at your position as if you are in the other position. Let's expand even more and look from an observer's perspective or an onlooker's perspective. Now, let's take our emotions out of it and look at it from a logical perspective. All right? So now let's just take the logic, don't even think about what's going on, and tap into what we're feeling and how it feels to us on the internal. See, this is when you're going to be expanding in the dimensions of how you're able to process reality, which is going to expand you as an individual. At this point, different systems in your body, different chakra systems will begin to become evoked and activated. And that's when you're experiencing consciously your multi-dimensions. We're experiencing these things all the time. But do we know it? Now you will be conscious of this where others aren't. And now you have even more to work with on your canvas. And if you know what you're doing, you can make a beautiful creation. At this point, your intuition has kicked on. And it's not one of those intuitive things that you're not knowing what's going on in the moment. It's intuition that you're consciously seeing and analyzing as information. Being aware of more angles. Due to you using more than just the physical five senses that we have, you've inverted those senses, and now you can use those same senses on the other plane as well, interpreting them precisely for what it is. You can smell shit and smell it for what it is from the right brain's perspective. You can feel when a storm is coming. From an external perspective, you can look at the clouds, but from an internal perspective, you will be able to feel the storm coming. And if you're really tapped in, you can know where it's coming from and why is it happening, and maybe can change the point or the outcome or the reasoning behind the storm or whatever, or the gift. You can feel when your breakthrough is about to happen. And you don't have to be afraid of the breakthrough. You can know what the hell you're doing and prepare with intentions and expect it. That's the only time that you can expect something, is when you have no expectations, but know the energy is what it is. Because you can know. Just like you do life. Just like you see things for exactly what it is. And at this point, we're all doing that. There's not much you can get away with anymore. We're already in that realm. The old world has already died. If you're only using portions of your left brain, because you can't even use your entire left brain without even consciously knowing what you're doing in your right brain. But if you're only using portions of your left brain, we can only relate to one another and conversate and have an agreement on the things that we can see. But when it goes beyond the things that we can see and the things that we can know, that's where things will split, and you will have a belief and a hope and a prayer, whereas others that can see will have a knowing and already have an awareness of the energies that led up to the current energy, putting them in a position to be more mentally and emotionally prepared for whatever outcomes and events that are to come, and that we've also created individually and collectively. This is what has always been shaping reality and the life that we are experiencing currently and have experienced previously. These things happen through the natural order of things, through the universal laws. That just is what it is, as above, so below, as within, so without. The first will be last, the last will be first. The youngest is the oldest can be the youngest, and always in between, all sorts of variations of that. But the point is, how? What is it that we're actually doing, and how are we supposed to do it? How have we been doing it? Do we know what the hell we doing? So what you do is just pay attention to yourself first. Pay attention to the different transitions that happen in your own moods, in your own mind. And then pay attention to the correspondence of how these internal events shape and mold the external events that we experience with others in our physical reality. And I know it's hard to look at yourself and to realize at some point that you're your own detriment, but you'll have to do that shadow work in order. That's just the process and how you cut the light on and see that it was nothing. You first have to push through the fear and look at it for what it is without any judgment and any biases too at some point. It's like training a child. You're training your man and woman, your girls and your boys, your feminine and your masculine energies within. And you didn't know that was the point. So now you know, get with the program. Because this is what's going to give you control over your life and over your mind and over your spirit and over your next realities and over your transitions and the next cycle and how they transition into whatever cycle that you create and shape. This is how you control that. You have to go through these things first.